I will be looking for approval of the amended agenda. Motion by Director Hackett, seconded by Director Bauman. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the amended agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 6-0. We now go into appreciation, recognition, and presentations. Looks like Assistant Principal Newman.
AD this time.
80, wow.
Rest of it, we'll see. Chair Garrett, members of the board, Dr. Superintendent Report. Tonight we are honoring our state track athletes. They competed at St. Michael Grill earlier this month, and we had 4 qualifiers for our state meet in 5 events. James Van Erden and Aurora Wahlberg in the high jump, Maya Yorzik in the shot put and triple jump, and Connor Carlson in the 400-meter dash. And they competed and did really, really well. We had some PRs at the section meet at St. John's. And then the following weekend, ours was Thursday, Friday at St. Michael, and competed. We competed well. We have James and Aurora placing 12th, each placing 12th in the high jump. And Maya placed 8th and 13th in her events respectively, and Connor improved once from last year, this year from 8th, and this year 7th. So I want to congratulate our state track athletes for 2022.
Sure, I think we need a picture.
I guess so.
What do you think?
We'll get them to.
This is back up?
I think so.
No. Oh, yeah.
No, there you go. I like
For sure.
Wow, is that enough? We have elementary kids up in the front.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Any other appreciation, recognition, presentation? All right, then we will move to recognition of citizens for input purposes. Just a reminder before we start, you're limited to 5 minutes. You need to direct your comments towards the board. You can't, don't address individuals, make your comments towards the board. And we are here to listen in this fashion. So anybody have any recognition that they would like to speak to? All right. With that, we will move on to board committee reports.
Finance can be met. They'll be going over the same stuff with their presentation a little later, so you'll see what we went over.
Policy.
We had 2 that we're gonna look at tonight for approval. One is the family and medical leave policy. It's a second reading, so it's just some updates to the statute and language changes. And then the fund balances we walked through and waited for the other committee, and that's good to go for tonight as well.
State is not here, so we will move on then to the superintendent report.
So I just want to give you a quick update on the strategic planning meeting so far. We've met April, May, June. We have sent out a survey, and so I'm making a plea to all of the committee members to please fill out the survey. I think we've had around 22 responses out of about 60. This is on the core values. So it's really important to get those voices in so that we can land on 5, 6 core values to bring forward to the board for approval. Just note that so far the committee has landed on keeping the vision statement and did a little rework to the mission statement. So once we establish these core values, we will be getting to strategic priorities in August. And then the action steps that go with those strategic priorities, along with how we're going to evaluate that we've really achieved it. So that work is still in progress. To be honest, believe that it won't come to the board in September for approval. I think that might be a bit soon. I think it may be more around October, just because we will not be meeting in July, as everyone will take a little break. So that's going very well, though. Very good participation. Students are there, community members are there, parents are there, staff are there. It's been a good process. I just want to give a quick legislative update. I'm sure you've all been following. We have not gotten into any kind of special session. So $9 billion is sitting at the legislature with nothing coming to education, even though we made a plea and thought we had agreement across the aisle to have some kind of funding come to education. That has not occurred. We will see if Safe Schools dollars increase with the federal government talking about with this new gun legislation around giving more dollars to Safe Schools. If that happens, we would have to sit down and take a look at how much we'd receive and where would be the best option for its placement. So we'll see where this all goes in for the next biennium. This wasn't a finance year. This was a bonding year. But when you have that kind of a surplus in funds, you would think that something would have come into where it's needed, but that didn't work out. So just give you also some lighter news. Our MAP program is going very well this summer. We're averaging between 45 and 50 students a day. I was over there. They're all having fun, enjoying their summer. So luckily we're having pretty nice weather, so they're able to be outside too. So that's good. Air conditioning project's going well over there. It's on pace, and we're still working through that kitchen remodel on when they can get there to actually update that serving line. And so we're really hoping that the kitchen remodel over at the elementary should be done for sure by the start of school, but summer school will function in its current state. And just to know, summer school is ramping up. We're getting ready to start that after the week of the 12th. And so looking forward to having middle school and high school students on site to participate to high school, some credit recovery, and for the middle school, just getting through some catch up. And then we do have around 60 students at the elementary, a little over 30, 35 in the middle, and then again at the high school. So it'll be interesting to see how this year goes. And then I will be looking at different ways to figure out to make this ongoing every summer, that we're able to continue doing summer school for all of our children, regardless of age. So hoping we can figure out a way to fund that. Have some ideas, just don't have anything set yet, so we'll keep working through that process. Otherwise, that's kind of our summer so far.
Got a question.
Yeah.
So with it being kind of the start of doing this summer school thing, maybe an exit interview with some of the high school kids.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You know, what did we do right? What could we have done better? Because they can vocalize,
Right.
you know.
Even those fourth and fifth
Probably,
graders,
yeah. You know, if asked the right questions, they probably could give you the right answers or the answers you're looking for.
Right. Great idea. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Woodcock?
Okay, moving on to item 8C, Business Manager Report.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board and Dr. Weirkamp, I see that Dave just joined. So do you mind if we see if Dave wants to give his report, and then I'll listen in and chime in with any help that he may need.
Perfect, thank you. Chairperson and members of the board, Superintendent Report. We have your update. I'm just getting this pulled up here. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yes.
Current enrollment, as of June 14th is 917. The revised budget was based off of 916 ADM, and we actually started this fiscal year at 920. Revenues, we're continuing to trend ahead of where we were last year. About 509,000 ahead of revenues from last year. We are caught up on CARES and title draws. Property taxes fiscal year received to date. This number is a little bit bigger than what we typically get in a year, and some of that is probably going to be fiscal year 23 revenues already starting to get received. We'll be sorting that all out, the balance sheets, and putting them to the correct revenue codes here as we wrap up this fiscal year. So hopefully by next board meeting, we'll give you a lot more accurate view on how we're finishing the year on that. We'll separate that out. Expenditures, we are 2.28 million ahead of where we were last year at this time. Just regular education costs up from the prior year, salary adjustments, extracurricular activities were 208,000 above where we were the same time last year, and we're using up construction funds that we had left over for various projects as PMA funds. MAP and Little Royals programs overall, we are doing well. MAP financials, they continue to show a positive revenue flow on the MAP program. The overall profit through May is $27,000. Little Royals is a little bit behind right now where we anticipated them. This is not a surprise necessarily. We knew that we had a bunch of catch up on some of the salary for the folks in Little Royal. So we'll be paying close attention to this as we enter June and July here, and reconvene if we need to have additional discussions on it. Any questions on this month's update?
Dave, I have a question. Overall, just comparing incomes and expenses, I mean, it looks to be that we're close to breaking even, right? We're within our goal. We're feeling good about where we are.
Yeah, we're in the low 20% for the fund balance right now. So we are very well positioned for this time.
And I can jump on that a little bit too, if you don't mind. So to answer your question, Dave, if you can scroll up to the revenues on your report. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch which board member asked the question.
It was Director Garrett.
All right, Director Garrett, thank you. So if you look at the revenues and you look at the received year to date mark, and you look in that column, it's 9.131 million. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, and then if we go down to the expenditure column, then you look in that same expenditure year to date column, you're at that 10,054,000, right?
Yes.
So, all right, so right now it looks like we're outpacing with expenditures than revenues. However, when you scroll back up, and because this is what I want the board and your eyes to get trained to as you get accustomed to the finances and how everything's working. If you go back up to the revenues, you can see that the property taxes are showing up as currently as a negative of that $650,000 off to the right there in the current year to versus prior year to date. So that's currently showing up as a negative 650,000, because when that revenue hits the balance, it goes to the balance sheet, not necessarily the revenue code. But during the audit, we're gonna take that from the balance sheet and put it into the revenue code and get them into their correct revenue codes, whether it's a county apportionment, whether it's debt service, or if it's general fund or fund 4. So once we do that, that's going to show an additional revenue of 650,000. And you also have to remember too that there's a 10% holdback because we get 90% of the revenues throughout the year, and then we'll get 10% in October, November, or excuse me, September, October, November timeframe. So you're correct in your assessment and saying we're right on. It's going to be close. But over the next few months, what I always do, and I'm going to tell Dave to do the same thing, is to over July, August, and even September, is when we do our finance report to the board, we're going to show you how FY22 is shaking out. There's not going to be a lot of data to show the board and Dr. Weirkamp over those first few months of FY23 because teachers aren't back. There's not a lot of activity going on, so there's no real point in really showing you just a bunch of empty numbers. So we'll take that opportunity over the next 3 board meetings to continue to show you how the audit's shaking out and how how that fund balance is going to be affected one way or the other. But right now, that's a good way to project it, to look at that and see that we're like you said, right on a break-even point, or we're on pace for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott.
Mhm.
Thanks, Dave. Any other questions for the business manager? All right, principal report. Principal Swenson.
Members of the board, Chairman Garrett, Superintendent Weirkamp. Very short report tonight. We interviewed, as of June 27th, we are fully staffed for the fall. We made an offer to a DCD out of field DCD teacher, which we are very excited about, and he was about 99% sure that he was going to take the job. I wanted to discuss it with his family, and we had 2 paras accept job offers this morning. And so the June timeframe is not typically where you're hiring a lot of people into positions for the fall, but in this format, we'll take them where we can get them. And we're very excited about the people that we're going to be bringing on board. So it was a good day. So that's all I have. Questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Athletic director. You're good? All right, we will move on to item number 9. Consent agenda approval. The consent agenda will have approval of the regular board minutes, claims, account, and financial, approval of resignation, approval of leave of absence, approval of retirement, approval of new hires. Just a reminder, if anybody wants to take something out, certainly can do that as well.
I'll make a motion.
Motion was made by Director Hofstad and seconded by Director Baumann. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item 10, discussion, information, action items. 10A, approval of donations by resolution. Would somebody like to introduce this resolution?
No motion.
Member Baumann introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Whereas all information is included in your packet, the Bolus American Legion has generously donated $100 to the Royalton School Band towards future instrument and music purchases. Elmdale Creamery Association has generously donated $500 to the Royalton FFA to be used at the organization's discretion. Doug Lipke has generously donated $50 to the Minnesota Honor Society for Gatorade and water for future citywide cleanup events. St. Cloud Morning Optometrist Club has generously donated $1,000 to the Royalton Middle School, High School robotics team to be used for registration, supplies, and or tournament fees. And Jackie Kep, sorry, Jackie, has generously donated a photo light box to the art department, which will be used for documenting student work and creating portfolios. Whereas the conditions of these gifts are included in the packet, therefore be it resolved by the Royalton School Board to greatly accept the gifts. The motion for adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by member
Hackett.
Hackett, and upon a roll call being taken thereon, the following voted in favor of.
Director Bowman,
Hi.
Director Garrett.
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad, aye, Director Roaring.
Same.
So that would be 4 in favor of, 0 and 1 abstain. Yep, so it goes to 5. So resolution passes 5-0. B, grant for the Initiative Foundation. So we are looking for a motion to approve the Initiative Foundation grant. Looks like Michelle is pulling that up. You can see it's actually it's valued at $5,772.10. It's broken down within the packet also. Michelle is showing it. What we're getting, a lot of STEM things, right? Creative minds, education, I think just supplemental items, I think that teachers can use into their classrooms. So that's awesome that the Initiative Foundation has donated that.
Second.
Motion was made by Director Bauman, second by Director Hofstad. Any discussion? All right, motion was made by Director Bauman, seconded by Director Hofstad to approve the grant or accept the grant from the Initiative Foundation for $5,772.10. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0. New budget, item 10C. Scott and Dave, or Dave and Scott? More Dave, less Scott?
More Scott.
More Scott, less Dave?
This is Scott.
More Scott, less Dave. More Scott. Sorry, thought that was funny. All right, so this is as we talked about this at last board meeting. We went through the budget presentation and showed that with you guys. Do you want me to pull that back open again?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And then let me know when you can see it.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I just want to remind the board that we are only adopting the revenues and expenditures. So Dave and I went through this with a fine tooth comb. This is one of the most difficult budgets I've ever done in my life, just because of the fact that we've had CARES funding. And Dr. Weirkamp has reserved some of that going forward, where a lot of districts are trying to use that up and get rid of it and be done with it. But she has reserved quite a bit going forward for just in case emergency. So, but a lot of districts, they're having to undo everything that CARES did. So kudos to Dr. Weirkamp for reserving some of that to help with the budget and moving forward. So the beginning fund balances and the end of year projected balance, I try to ask you not to pay attention to that, but I know it's hard not to, because as a board, we just need to adopt the FY23 budget, which is the revenues and expenditure columns. Dave, if you can remind me, what did we base that budget off of? I think we stayed with 916 ADMs. Is that correct? You're muted, buddy.
Yep, everything was kept flat, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then also we did have expenditures built in for the HVAC project, as well as the boiler and some different things that are coming down the pipeline, which we'll talk about at the LTFM portion coming up here shortly. But again, looking to have a positive impact to our general fund after next year. Fund 2, again, our revenues are lacking. So if you guys are, I'm trying to ask you not to, but if you're looking over here, the revenues tend to lack expenditure. So we're going to end up with a fund balance in Fund 2. However, it doesn't appear that we're going to have much of one. But again, revenues aren't in there yet. So again, our expenditures are a little bit ahead of where our revenues are. So we still have to do what we call a PLE tool, or a pay lunch equity tool, I believe what it's called. So we'll fill that out, and generally speaking, it goes up 10 cents per year. If we have a fund balance, which I fully expect that we will, that's the most amount that we'd probably recommend to the board to go up. But we'll take a look at that as the coming weeks come along here. And then Fund 4, as Dave talked about, and I talked about at the last board meeting, Fund 4 is doing wonderful. Your district is well ahead of the game for most districts that we work with. So kudos to Royalton for having such a positive outlook with Fund 4 currently. And then Fund 7, that's to go to pay off the referendum that we did in 2016, or ended in 2016. That is done. So that is just a direct county's payments that we make to pay off our debt. Any questions?
I think we're good.
Okay. Less Scott, more Dave now.
I will take a motion to accept the new budget for 23.
So moved.
Director Hofstad,
Director Hackett seconds it.
Director Hackett. Motion was made by Director Hofstad and seconded by Director Hackett. Is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor of accepting the 2023 budget, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0. LTFM for 2023.
Oh, did someone pull that open already? Okay. All right. So. I was just seeing if somebody else was pulling that open, otherwise I got it.
No. Whatever.
Dave will have you do it.
Sounds good. Just pull that back open. Right, so every year, before the end of July, actually, we need to update our 10-year LTFM plan. Most of the fields in these two spreadsheets, for one for revenue, one for expenses, are formula driven. We drop off the prior year, or the year that we've just been through, and then we add on a year to the end of the plan. We tend to, well, we want to focus more intently on 2022 and inputting all our current year-to-date data for each one of these finance codes under LTFM. And then we will make adjustments to 2023 based on what projects we know are coming down the pipeline. So for example, with mechanical systems here, the formula started with $9,000 in there, but we put up another 100,000 in there for HVAC project, which is occurring now and into next year. And then we also had the boiler. We put another 50,000 in there for that. So those type of things we will account for really in the upcoming fiscal year. The rest is just formula driven. This is a state requirement. So we complete it as appropriate. The expenditures, that is what's going on this slide. And then for revenues, once again, most all of this is formula driven that tells us what the requirements are to carry it through for the 10 years. Any questions on those two, or Scott, any more elaboration?
Just the revenue slide that he's showing right now to the board, that is the projected revenues that MDE provides us, saying that that's what we're going to receive over the next 10 years. If you flip back to your expenditure column, Dave, or your expenditure spreadsheet, excuse me. So, I mean, you can quickly do the math just by eyeballing it there. That if you can zoom in a little bit. I can't see it, maybe they can, but looking at the total expenditure plan for the next 10 years, you can see that we're going to be well below our LTFM budget. But yeah, that's the only thing that I would add to that. One other thing I would add to this, and Dr. Weirkamp and I, we did not get a chance to talk before this, but I'll ask the question. The resolution that needs to be passed for the LTFM expenditure budget, did that make the board report? Because I did not see that in the agenda.
Yes,
Okay, what item is that under?
this current one. My board book did drop, so.
10D.
Not your fault. Yeah, it's under 10D. Yep, I have the resolution right in front of me.
Okay, all right, perfect. I just did not see it in the board. Perfect. That's great. Thank you.
I'm gonna interject if I can.
Sure.
So one thing that we are doing now that hadn't been done previously is we are putting a portion of our operations director salary into LTFM because he runs that, manages that. So it's a good place to have some general fund savings. And so that's the kind of work that we're doing as a team with the administrative team, is taking a look at, when we look at our overall budget, where are ways that we can place things to maximize the funding that we're getting and utilizing that general fund to its best use. And so those are some of those creative kind of things that we're doing as a team to ensure the fiscal health. When we talked as well about the CARES dollars and holding money back, I want to comment about that as well. You remember we did that, the board approved that upon recommendation because we had 3 years to spend that money. We didn't know for sure what would happen, right? We didn't really know at that time where COVID was leading us and where things were headed. I will tell you that some districts actually put people, current staff that they had currently hired out of the general fund and into that. Or they hired additional people and put them into those ESSER dollars. And now they're cutting staff because those ESSER dollars are spent and their general fund hasn't kept up with inflation and the costs that are incurring in staff costs, and therefore in a cut situation. We're not in that. And so I feel that so far our decision-making has been sound to carry us into our future. It's a hassle for our poor business managers because there's all those fin codes that we're still managing. They're like, we just want to close these things out. I'm like, I know we're getting there, closer, but we're at least trying to be strategic so that we set ourselves up to not have to hurt people in our future or as little as possible.
So I have a question on that line. So like the CARES dollars, and now if there's something that comes from the Fed, are they going to look at what your long-term facility maintenance dollars are? Like a portion of it, or give you a portion of that budget? You know,
Anything?
the argument is going to be, well, if you didn't have it budgeted, you didn't need it.
Well, we budgeted as contingency, knowing what we had. So in other words, we can come back with saying, for example, we had summer school funded through ESSER 161. We could fund summer school for the next 2 summers because it would be within our time frame using 160. We can also look at, for example, if we're not selling, if the kitchen equipment in North Kitchen, remember we talked about that at the last meeting where that's like a, boy, in the hopes and dreams, this is its value. Well, so far we're not getting takers on that. Well, we can go ahead if we need to and use that SR 160 money to offset that elementary kitchen cost. So true, we don't want to tell the government we don't need it because we do. We're just trying to be strategic enough. And the other thing that we have, keep in mind, is our behavior interventionists that we're hiring through Northern Pines, through a contractual agreement with Northern Pines, at both the elementary and the secondary, we could fund for the next couple of years as well using the FIN 160 as we've used other FIN codes through ESSERS to support that relationship with Northern Pines. And I will tell you, Royalton got that model started, took us a while to get them hired. As you remember, we wanted to have that staff in last fall and couldn't actually get them hired till the spring. But now Morrison County commissioners have approved for some of their ESSER dollars, their ARP funds, to come into all of our school districts to help fund the model, because the other districts heard what Royalton was doing and said, this is a great model, we should do this. They went in front of the county commissioners, they approved it. So our second year, we should get some support from Morrison County through MICIC and help support those behavior interventionists, which means we can then again, we could use the 160. Right, and we can spread this thing and make this work. So I'm hopeful that if the government would look at what we did, they'd understand that that makes pretty good sense than rushing to spend money that you've given someone an authorization of 3 years to spend and spend it that very first year. They should recognize, to me, logic would bear out that that's kind of nice to stretch out. Oh, if you're giving yourself 3 years.
You're talking about government.
But I know, then I come back with, we have $9 billion. Legislature will sit there. So anyway, that's kind of where we are. So it's a, you know, maybe we played it wrong, but for right now, it feels okay to me. So.
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I will look for a board member to introduce the LTFM, so the extractive school board meeting minutes, independent school district 485. There it is, the long-term facilities maintenance 10-year plan.
So moved.
School board member Hackett introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Resolution adopting independent school district 485 24 term facilities maintenance 10-year plan. To be resolved that the school board of the independent school district 485 state of Minnesota approves the attached long-term facilities maintenance 10-year plan. The motion for adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by school board member Bauman. And upon vote being thereon, the following voted in favor of the motion.
Director Bauman,
Aye.
Director Garretts.
Aye.
Director Hackett.
Aye.
Director Hofstad. Aye. Director Rory.
Aye.
And the following voted against. Whereupon the resolution was declared duly passed and adopted on the 27th day of June 2022. Item E, IRS mileage reimbursement increase. In the packet, looks like we are being asked for the final 6 months of 2022, the standard mileage rate for business travel will be 62.5 cents per mile, up 4 cents from the effective rate at the start of the year. The new rate for deductible medical and moving expenses. Yeah. So we are looking for a motion to accept the second half of the year, upping the mileage 4 cents to 62.5 cents per mile. So moved.
Second.
Director Hofstad, seconded by Director Bauman. Any other discussion?
Doesn't seem.
That kind of interesting, isn't it? 4 cents. They're hoping it goes down a little.
Yeah, maybe after 4.
All right, the motion was made by Director Hofstad, seconded by Director Bauman to approve the IRS mileage reimbursement increase. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0. Resolution establishing the dates for filling affidavits of candidacy. This is just an exercise in Russ reading tonight. Thank you.
To be here all night.
I know. It's not gonna get easier. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 45, State of Minnesota as follows. The period for filing affidavits of candidacy for the office of school board member of Independent School District 45 shall begin on August 2nd, 2022, and shall close August 16th, 2022. An affidavit of candidacy must be filed in the office of the school district clerk, and the $2 filing fee paid prior to the 5:00 p.m. on August 16th, 2022.
That's the clerk is gonna be the district office, is that right?
Yes.
We'll be open until by staff. Yep.
Great question. Looking for a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion.
Motion made by Director Bauman,
Second.
seconded by Director Hofstad. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of accepting the resolution as stated, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 5-0.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Is it a real resolution or not?
It is actually a resolution, but it does not have anybody to open it or.
It shouldn't
That's
be,
from MSBA.
Yep.
should it probably not be voted by
Probably should take roll call.
roll call
Probably.
with the word resolution, and I would think you better.
Director Hofstad, would you lead us in the roll call vote?
Director Ballin,
Aye.
Director Garrett,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad, aye, Director Roaring.
Aye.
Resolution passes via roll call vote 5-0. No worries. Yeah, we could do it again next. Employee handbook presentation. I will now read the entire employee handbook.
Chair Garrett's, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp. I'm Amy Kruger, and I had brought last time the handbook. Just wanted to give you an update. It is now not in draft form anymore. We have had all of our union leads look at this, as well as leadership and our administrative group, as well as cabinet. So this is the proposed handbook that we are looking to start with this year for employees and have you approve.
Any questions for Amy? I appreciate your hard work going through and doing this and meeting with all the unions, and it's you know, I'm sure it wasn't hard, but it's a lot of work. So I appreciate what you and Dr. Werkamp put together. So
I think it's gonna be a good thing,
absolutely.
you know, be the first thing to go to. I think it'd be a great thing. Probably give us some really easy things in negotiation too to deal with, so.
Oh, maybe.
So,
I'll motion to approve.
Director Bauman, is there a second? Any discussion? All right, the motion was made by Director Bauman and seconded by Director Roaring to approve the Royalton Employee Handbook. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 5-0. Next one's yours. All right. Item H, APAD Memorandum of Understanding. Thank you.
So this one, you can see the details in your board packet, but just kind of a quick overview. Our AD moved into an AD/AP position in the fall. Now they've negotiated that and is now in the principals union. That contract starts July 1st. There was some previous language giving them some matching opportunity, giving that employee matching opportunities within the 403B. And so just changing around some language because Tony has been in the district for 3 years, the years of service, we're just saying we're using the years of service for him and being able to give him that matching opportunity if he's had and not taking it away and making him wait 3 years to become tenured as a principal.
So motion was made by Director Hofstad. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Bauer. Discussion. Any questions for Amy?
I have a
Director
question. So being this is a memorandum of understanding, this is only gonna apply to Tony then?
This one applies to Tony, and then when
But
we look at.
If we hired somebody else in this position, would that same thing follow or? would
No,
that
because
just-
it uses it's specific to Tony
All right,
Newman's position.
just asking.
And we would look at different, we would look
Yeah.
at hiring.
Yeah, you
that
don't know what
person
it's gonna
and
be
adding
or
them.
what, if it ever happens or whatever, but.
Yep.
That's all I have, Chairman.
Other questions for? All right, there was a motion made by Director Hofstad, seconded by Director Bauman to accept or to approve the memorandum of understanding for the ADAP. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 5-0.
All right, Chair Garrett, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp, I'm back for the next 3 here. First one up is FFA Nationals. As you know, we had our middle quality team placed first at the state convention. That qualifies them for the national convention. That national convention is in Indianapolis. And that's not until the last week of October. So as they're looking to wanting to go and participate at the national convention, which is something that a lot of FFA directors in maybe 25+ years of experience never get an opportunity to go to. So it's a pretty prestigious thing for them to be honored, to be state champions, and then being able to participate in this national convention. Being as it is out-of-state travel and stay, we're looking for approval to go ahead and begin planning that trip for them. It would be the advisor, Nathan Goldaddy, and then we've got our 3 state champion team from middle quality, Joseph Aachen, County Varner, and Lydia Pica. Just to think about how hard it is to qualify for this, in many classes, football's got 6 classes, wrestling's got 3 classes, basketball's got 4 classes, and you compete for a state championship. FFA's got 1 class statewide, so you're competing with all these other schools in the cities and outstate and bigger communities. So they're just looking for the opportunity to go down and represent Royalton at nationals.
Sorry, Tony, where did you say it was held?
It's in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, okay.
Yep.
And are they have these funds? Are they fundraising? What are
Yeah.
they doing to get to? It's quite the,
Well,
It's
it
not
is
terrible, but-
right, and that with gas prices, I mean, that was at $1 a mile. Who knows what that cost is going to be? Flying is going to be more expensive, but yeah, I mean, we can use student activity account monies, but we've determined that FFA is a part of the curriculum, and because they receive Perkins grant funds, that we could find money someplace, somewhere for them to be able to participate. It's a little bit different with their competition being in October rather than kind of continuous in the school year. It's different. It's a different animal than many other, if not all other national conventions that are out there.
And I'd just like to say, our wrestlers went to state and we paid, the activities account paid them. This wouldn't come out of activities, it'd probably come out of a general fund expenditure. But to me, this is like the gold standard and they hit that and most never get that opportunity. And I would hate for us to not support that and one of these kids not be able to go because they can't afford to spend the money for it. So I just think it shows their hard work and dedication to FFA. We should support that.
Dr. Baum.
This, just out of curiosity, so seniors, what do they only compete then when they're sophomores? So they can go their junior year? Or no?
These would have graduated and we will.
So do they come back then
They
for
will
it?
come back.
Yeah.
So, because
I was just curious how that works.
One
since
will
it
be a
was the
senior and
following-
two have
to
graduated.
have graduated, but we'd hate to see them not go. just
Oh,
because
yeah,
of the
yeah, I
time.
was just curious
Yeah.
how that works since they
Right.
qualify now, but then they don't go to the following. It's
They're-
just kind of an
it's
odd.
very odd.
They're head over heels. They want to go.
Yeah,
They,
very
they,
cool.
Yeah, it is an odd calendar, how it falls.
It's
Yeah.
just kind of weird.
but it is the last week of October, so think about mid-semester for college, they're gonna miss some college to go to
Yeah.
this, and they're excited to have the opportunity.
Yeah,
should they be
no,
allowed
I
to.
think it's really cool. It was just weird
It is
structure. I was just curious.
I agree.
But think about how, they're gonna have to rehome their.
Right.
everything,
Yeah.
it's
Have to make them
it's
come
a
back
long
here.
way.
Yeah.
It's not something you
Yeah,
yeah.
they spent a lot of time. I know, a lot of time.
I know in talking with the families, they said it's kind of killed eating around them, so. Because they're all like, oh, this has got this wrong with it, or this milk has got this wrong with it. So those are the families say, so.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll motion.
Director Bauman,
I'll say,
seconded by Director Hackett. Any other discussion? All right, the motion was made by Director Bauman, seconded by Director Hackett. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained. Motion carries 5-0. Volleyball fundraiser.
All right, volleyball fundraiser. Morgan Prom just got married this past weekend and is in the Dominican right now, probably on a beach someplace. Just knowing and kind of getting her up to speed on how fundraisers work and how they need to be approved. This past spring, we were talking about what she'd like to do. She came up with a pizza fundraiser for her program in the fall, knowing full well that I know other programs do it in the spring. But she's looking to get this going here the first day of practices and then wrap it up in 2 weeks through Heggy's Pizza. Price point, I know that's a common question of how much can you make. It's Heggy's allows you to set the price. So you got to be careful with how you set the price. I know it's a fundraiser and people don't want stuff, but they're really doing a program. But they estimate you can make $5 a pizza for the general fundraiser for the program.
Questions for assistant principal?
I'll motion to approve.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Director Bauman, seconded by Director Hofstad. Any additional discussion? All right, hearing none. Motion was made by Director Bauman, seconded by Director Hofstad. In favor of supporting the volleyball fundraiser. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstained? Motion carries 5-0. Broadcasting advertisement agreement.
All right, so when the board approved the purchase and contract for our huddle services for our live streaming and our cameras for outside and inside, well, I talked about the ability to solicit businesses to advertise on our platform to broadcast on YouTube. And the advertising agreement that we have on file applies to our outdoor signs on our baseball and softball fields. I use that as my baseline initially, and just kind of try to make it fit as far as just we're doing indoor space where it's gonna be in the, look at the screen, our scoreboard's gonna be in the bottom left, our Royalton R is gonna be in the upper right, and then in the bottom right, we would have rolling advertisements, could be up there for 5 seconds, and then flip to the next one, 10 seconds, whatever it may be. And I'm looking for businesses to help supplement and offset the cost of this for our district. I would look for $500 for a year subscription to be able to advertise on our platforms. So we're looking at broadcasting, football, varsity and JV, volleyball, all levels, basketball, as many levels as we possibly get, whoever's in the gym going. We could do it for band concerts, we can do it for graduation, they can all advertise, they can all be on there. Don't want to short anybody. So this is what the advertisement agreement that came out. Dr. Werkamp sent it to our lawyer, who then looked it over and then made a significant amount of adjustments because the agreement that we had applies to outside. So because this is a contract or needs something that needs to be approved by the school board, just looking for approval on that. And then any business that signs on would then have to come to a board to be recognized and approved.
The content or the business?
The business that we would have as part of our policy, that content has to be fit within our board policy, which is, I believe, the policy stated in the agreement. I believe it's
How
referenced.
many changes to the content can they make in a year?
Oh,
Is that
they
one
give
time?
me their business, they give me the JPEG of it, and that's what we use to put in. If something changes, I mean,
Well, I'm
I
just
don't,
thinking gas coupon is 7 cents this week, is it 9 cents the next?
oh, no,
next
no,
week, or
I'm just looking, wow,
just names.
just a business name, I know there's daycare people that they've asked me to put their name out there. I'm looking at if they want to change it, like Becker Screen Print and Design, they wanted to change the way that their banner outside looked, just because they have artwork changes. Those are the type of changes,
Okay, have other schools done this?
No, not in our conference. They use Huddle Focus.
The Metro.
Well, the Metro, yes, but not in our conference. We talked to Lord at our admin meeting in
I know
April.
I was watching the state wrestling meet, that it was on the state wrestling meet, but that wasn't through a school district. That was.
No, track wrestling runs that one. Similar, same type of thing. Our integrated scoreboard isn't going to be like the ESPN ticker. But,
Well, it might someday.
Yeah,
I mean, you just don't know.
there is a capability
Yeah.
through a different network, but we don't have a benefit to that because you got to pay to subscribe to watch. So I don't want to do that to our community. So.
Them are my questions.
Tony, it says that streaming can be provided September 1st through May 31st. Aren't there typically volleyball and football in August?
Yes, we have our tournament. Well, for this year, our tournament, which we wouldn't broadcast, is the 27th. And then we're away the first year, August 30th, we're in Ogilvy. So,
We could amend those dates.
yeah. And then after, I suppose we're not baseball, softball. So yeah, graduation, depending on when that
Yeah,
falls.
maybe.
But yeah, we can play with the
could
dates
amend
too.
Because I was just curious on the year, right? When do you start, right? So if I sign up
It might be better.
today,
Maybe August 1st.
does it go 1 year or is it in, you know what I mean? Does
All in that fiscal school year.
Right.
I mean, that, if you want to change the language to that instead, I mean, that's fine. That's no problem to me. I mean, I'm not gonna say, well, it's not, you're outside the dates.
Right.
That makes more work for me than.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's why I'm just, curious on the dates that we're in and when does it start, right? Like the fitness center right now, I think they keep track of, Russ signed up, June 1st, it's 1 year. Well, maybe it isn't like that.
Keep at it, bud.
Yeah, right, whatever. But, so I didn't know if this was gonna do that or you structured like you were here. So I just,
Maybe we'll just. shift
food
it
for
to
thought,
fiscal
that's
year.
all.
Yeah, we can do,
Just shift it to
yeah.
fiscal year.
Fiscal
This'll be
year is
easy.
fine.
It'll be easy.
So I think you are looking for a motion to approve the agreement.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the agreement as amended.
Thank you, Director Hackett. Is there a second? Motion was made by Director Hackett, seconded by Director Rowan. Is there any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 5-0. This is your fourth one. All right. Minnesota State High School League resolution for membership.
Every year, we have to come to the school board to apply for membership to the State High School League. So this is that document, and everything is ready to go. We're just looking for your approval for we can continue on our membership in the State High School League. We do a video that we need to show as well.
Question, when do we pay dues for Minnesota High School League? Is that's in the fall?
So we'll get the invoice in August, so I have
Okay.
to sign up for the sports that we have and re-up every year. I do that in late April. And then they track that, and then they'll send out the invoice for each sport. And then they also have that cost per student that they added in, which then will get assessed as well.
Because there was a dramatic increase. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Last year?
Yeah, two years ago.
2 years ago, right? Because
Mid-year, they gave it to
That's
us.
terrible.
Yeah.
there was no state tournament, right? So they really didn't have any way
Yeah.
to draw
Yeah.
funds because a lot of things were canceled. So last year it was a little more.
Yeah, things are better, you know,
Okay.
with all the state tournaments that we've had in person. You're still getting the ticket sales, you're getting the sponsorships. The cost per student did go down on the whole from when they started, but it's just they are still forcing us to do a per participant based on your 9/12 enrollment minus your free and reduced formula. All right, so our video here is from the high school.
Energy and resources on their child's sports experiences.
Private coaches, tryouts, travel tournaments, and increasing pressure to specialize in a single sport at an early age.
Reality is less than 3% of our athletes will ever go on to play college, and less than 1% of our athletes will ever play professionally.
This means 97% of students will have a terminal experience. When they graduate, their competitive playing days are over. So what's the purpose?
The purpose is the human growth and development of our students and connecting them to caring adults in their learning community.
For this to happen, it takes leadership and a community aligned around this purpose.
The purpose of a caring adult in students' lives has never been more important. Students face an incredible amount of pressure. There's peer pressure and social pressure and academic pressure and pressure to perform on the playing field or in the arts area. And what that's resulting in is a mental health crisis where kids are facing anxiety and depression. There's a study called Hardwired to Connect that identifies 3 fundamental needs that every human being has. The need to belong, the need to have some type of moral development. And we define moral as relationships to other people. And then that base community, which is really being held accountable to a set of expectations and boundaries. Athletic and activity programs can really provide a caring community for students. It's a place for them to be connected. It takes leadership to intentionally create connections and to create a culture that supports students in a caring community.
My purpose statement is to coach to create a love of the game and foster community and growth among our student athletes.
Shift your weight forward and backward. Good. The AD is the front-facing public person that's really leading the charge for all of the things that happen within that program that again are so beneficial to the student.
A strong activities director, athletic director is going to have the pulse of their school, is going to influence and impact the students through others and create that experience that we're looking for all kids.
In my particular role as the activities director, I call it leading from the middle out. I need to work with my principal and my superintendent, and I need to work with my school board to understand what purpose-based activities are, what they look like, what they should feel like with our student athletes. And then I need to train coaches, work with athletes, work with our student body.
The value of a strong activities director for the entire system is something that I can't put a price tag on. We've got 3 brand new board members. And it's important for school board members to understand the purpose of our activities and athletic programs so that they remember their role in supporting our work and supporting our staff and in supporting our activities director and what he does.
We are really here to change the arc of every athlete's life. I think the most important thing I do is connect students to each other, connect students to the school day, connect students to meaningful adults.
We want to win a state tournament. We want to have a winning record. But what's most important than that is having a winning culture.
It's all about the student experience, and that doesn't necessarily equate to winning, but that equates to being able to walk away saying, I had fun, I got better, I did the best that I could, I want to continue, I know more about myself, and I'm more prepared for whatever might come my way in the future.
We have to align our communities in order for athletic administrators and coaches to be supported.
Our school board knows that we're about more than just wins and losses, that we're part of the educational program and part of the educational system. It's great to be able to show up at work every day, knowing that you're supported by your school board, your superintendent, and your principal, and that you have the ability to support your coaches, athletes, participants, and their families. It's very important that you have all those important stakeholders in alignment and that they understand what the common language is and what it means to have a successful experience.
My purpose as a captain is to use the sport of baseball to help teach life lessons that will help people down the road.
The adults are purposeful and deliberate about engaging with students about something bigger than themselves. I may do it in my social studies classroom by teaching history, and I may then later do it in my role as a softball coach. But the experience that the kids get, that alignment that is tied through, is that we are here to impact your life in a positive way.
There's no more rewarding feeling for me as an activities director to hear them say that they became a better person through their participation in our activities.
I think the greatest thing that a school board can do is to define success, to publicly state that here's how we are going to define success within our school community. Are we growing and developing better people? Are we modeling the kind of character that we want our students to leave our school communities with and go into the world with? Awareness is critical. We have to be aware of the purpose of why sports are part of our school community.
And finally, not only do we have to hold our coaches accountable, we have to hold our school communities accountable to the transformative power of what sport can be. And that is connecting students to caring adults in their learning community.
So with that, we're looking for approval for this resolution, get it signed, and we get it submitted to the state before the end of July deadline.
Motion was made by Director Bauman.
Second.
Seconded by Director Hofstad. Questions? Ryan, I'm gonna ask you to, since it's a resolution, Randy will make us vote again if we're going to do it by roll call. So please.
Director Bauman.
Aye.
Director Garrett.
Aye.
Director Hackett. Aye. Director Hofstad. Aye. Director Rory.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
2 years, but we had to come back and revote.
I remember. We are on to 10M. Royalton Public Schools, a year in review.
Yes.
I just wanted to bring forward kind of a summary as to where we've been. You know, it's my first year here in Royalton Public Schools and my first year as a superintendent. And I can tell you that when you take on this role and you're coming into a new community, there's some nerves that go along with that. And then you're still in COVID and you're dealing with polarizing community opinions on how things should happen. I can tell you though, I think our year started off strong and just got stronger throughout. I think when we left on our last day with students, they felt good. When our teachers left on their last day, the morale was quite high. And it was wonderful because some of that ebbed and flowed throughout the year. So if we go to our next slide, I kind of divided this up into just kind of sections to help to make it a little bit easier maybe to understand. So culture and climate of the district. When I walked in, a lot of people came and talked to me and gave me lots of opinions and ideas and told me lots of things that they had experienced from their perspective. And so I thought, well, great, those are good things for me to know. Obviously, no one knows me yet. And so my job is to create trust, right? And as I got to know people, I determined that it's not just trust with me, but it's trust with all of us and each other. And so how do we do that? Well, we do that through a team approach. And so we look at leadership, and it isn't one person or a couple of people. It's all of us in different ways and at different times and for different things. So when we think about decision making, there are times when it's just the principals. There are times when it includes all of our district leaders. There are times when we bring in the union leads and get their perspective and feedback and input, teacher leaders, and then students. We talk about student council. We also though talk about our American Indian Parent Advisory Committee, where we want students to participate, or Native American students to participate in that. The Strategic Planning Committee, that's going to also be our curriculum review committee, and how we have students participating in that. Their voices are imperative to be heard. So I appreciate the exit interviewing part about summer school. That's right. We need to find out from them, is this the best it can be, or what can we do to improve? We also, I took a look at things and determined a lot of decisions came always to this district office up here. So I really feel like when you hire someone to be a leader of a department, there should be some autonomy in some of the decision making. Autonomy within a framework. If you've read Good to Great, that's one of the main points, is autonomy within a framework. So they have an opportunity to make some decisions as long as it's within the guidance of legal ramifications, long-term effects of others. So we did a lot of decentralizing of how things work. Also modeling a respectful environment. One thing that we've seen across our state and even the nation is COVID was really hard on children. And we found that when they left our school buildings for long periods of time, that when they came back, coming back into the mode of school was challenging for some of our students. And that was displayed in a myriad of ways. So I felt that it was imperative that we all, as the adults in our community, reflect what we want to see from our children. And so that comes through modeling. And so we started that in every part of our district. And I thought one place where it really stood out was how contract negotiations went. They felt very respectful and we listened. And I thought the board members, all of you, deserve a lot of credit in how those negotiations went. Each one that we were a part of, I thought was respectful, and I got positive feedback from those that participated on the other side. And we ended up with contracts and we end up with still a sound budget. So we did our work. And I just thought that was modeling for all of our kids. Our daily interactions, there's an expectation how we talk to each other here at Royalton Public Schools that I don't know was always there. We first and foremost need to be respectful. We need to listen. And we need to try our best to be kind. It's important. If we talk to each other like that as adults and we talk to our kids that way, then hopefully the kids will model that to each other and then back to us. Also, taking a look at a growth mindset. It's very important that if children are going to learn in the classroom, that they understand it's always continuous improvement. You don't just get to something and you stop and then, oops, I'm done. I don't have to learn anymore. No, we're lifelong learners. So it's really important that we think of ourselves as always in the mindset of continuous improvement. So our teachers, they're always improving their practice, their craft. Our principals are improving their craft. Our coaches are improving their craft. Superintendent is improving their craft. And so everybody is allowed to make mistakes. If we're not allowing that of others, how can we allow it for ourselves? And nobody's going to reach perfection. So we talk about that a lot in our meetings. Next slide. Teaching and learning. Again, this continuous improvement piece. We have been higher reliability school, HRS is what we use as our instructional model. And so we're focusing heavily on learning targets, proficiency skills that are tied to those learning targets, and assessments that are tied to all of it. Principals do walkthroughs in their classrooms with me and without me. And we also have cross buildings. So the elementary principal's been over at the secondary principals, and the assistant principal over to the elementary to see what's happening, to see what it looks like in different classrooms. And it's really good for a high school principal to walk into a first grade classroom. And he says, oh my gosh, it's a little, and it's really good for an elementary principal to walk into a junior's classroom and say, my gosh, I remember when he was in 5th grade and he was so short, and I'll look at him, right? These are wonderful things. It connects us, but it also sees different strategies used at different levels and how they can cross over and link. We're implementing FastBridge this fall at the middle school level. We need our MCA scores are out of alignment at the middle school level. We know that. We've seen that consistently. We're hoping FastBridge assessment utilization of that will help our middle school teachers tease out those priority standards, ensuring that we're teaching to the standards, to the right standards at the right time. Because sometimes you can offset that timing and it doesn't work so well. So those are just some parts of the things around the assessment piece. We are providing a common professional development day for all of our teachers in August. I'm not sure the last time that this has occurred, but we're very excited about the opportunity for discussions for vertical alignment that don't end at the 5th grade or start at the 6th grade, but continue through. Continue those kinds of conversations throughout our year. Also take an opportunity to build cross-building teaming, what it might look like at different team levels. And although it's one day, it gives an opportunity to start the discussion. We don't know where this could lead for us in our future, and we're excited about this opportunity. We are also adopting a district-wide model of instruction. When I say that, I say we have HRS, and we know what the elements are, and we know those strategies. What we're going to create with our leadership team is a visual that talks about what are the non-negotiables when I walk into a classroom that I'm going to see, and how can that be a visual so that the teachers see it every day, the students see it every day. And I'm so excited about the work the strategic planning committee is doing, because we're coming to core values, and those core values have to be linked into that instructional model, because core values are not just about our behavior, but it's also about what happens in the learning process. So when I thought about the video that we talked about with our coaches and what AEDs and the importance of that work comes back to core values. Most kids aren't gonna play college athletics, right? But they can walk out of Royalton Public Schools with a set of core values that they can take into their adulthood and utilize to be better community members and participants. So I'm excited about that work, and I can't wait to see where we land. We are restarting the curriculum review cycle. COVID stopped everything for everybody, it seems. We're going to restart that process. Along with that, that curriculum committee, which is also that strategic planning committee, because we're small, I don't think we can really sustain lots and lots of different committees. Their work, they're going to be instrumental in working through what does, if we need to get new curriculum for certain areas, what does that look like? And we'll use our teacher leaders to come in with different products. We'll bring in all parents, give all parents an opportunity to look at different options, and students. Students need to take a look at it too and be a part of that decision-making process on what we land on. So I say that, and I say early childhood curriculum is on docket. Now, will 4-year-olds participate in that? I'm not sure how that might look, but their parents certainly can have a lens and opinion and input into that work. So teaching and learning, the crux, the meat and potatoes of what we do, I think we're really headed in the right direction. We always have, like I said, continuous improvement, and we're doing that. And district office, I came and was asked, and we really should look at an HR director, and you're right. And we hired an HR director, and it's made a huge difference in how we do things as a district. And I appreciate Amy's work. She worked very, very hard. It's been a new role for her than what she's previously had to experience. So that learning curve was steep, and she worked very, very hard to get up it, and she has. And so I appreciate her and the tireless work that she put in, especially in the fall. We were able to create an employee handbook that includes staff discipline process. We were asked about having that in writing and putting it into a contract. We didn't put it in the contract, didn't feel like that was the right fit, but we put it in the employee handbook, and so everyone can see exactly what the basic process is. We've also included ensuring that Tennyson warnings are given for any kind of investigation, whether it's student discipline investigation or a staff investigation. There are two different types. You have a witness Tennyson, and you have a person who's you're asking about whether the behavior is theirs, Tennyson. We've implemented those. Those are being used with fidelity. That's important because people have the right to due process. And this is part of that. Tennyson warning explains that they don't have to answer your questions. It's a legal document that we're by law required to give because we're public employers. So we read those, and the student or the staff person could actually not opt out of answering those questions, but they understand what we're going to do moving forward if they do. And we read it to them, and they can have a copy. So it's very clear and transparent. We're working diligently and really learned through this negotiation process that sometimes it's helpful to give the other person that's coming in, right? The other staff person that's coming in to negotiate with the board some steps. And how does this going to look? What is the process for how you handle a negotiation? What is your current contract line? Here's your contract, but what does it mean when it comes to salary rates and increases? And here are charts, and we're trying to get better, again, continuous improvement, to get better at helping the other staff person feel comfortable and confident in the work of negotiations. When we allow for that confidence to be developed on the other side, that builds trust. So we go back to culture and climate that we first talked about. This is a huge piece, although it's a process piece and it's a teachable moment opportunity, it will build trust in the end. And so this I think will help us, and we'll continue to get better at that. And providing monthly budgets to all of our budget managers. Our approach to how we handle budgets here in Roseland Public Schools is you're the high school principal, you get a budget. You have it lined out by what you think your expected needs are. So when you stay within that budget, you make the decisions. With your teachers might ask for something, and together you make those decisions on what you're going to spend. If that's going to go outside of what your budget is, that has to come to me, to our cabinet team, to our business manager. Make a case. How are we going to make this cost neutral? Why should you get this if something else isn't happening? And if you don't, we don't make people fear that, well, if I don't spend all my money, they're not going to give me that much next year. It's not what we do. Maybe they didn't spend all that because they didn't need it that year, but the next year they might, and then we would honor that. We don't look at budget 1 year after 1 year. You look at it on a 5-year pattern, and you look at your expenditures over time. You don't look at it in just a 1-year expenditure. It doesn't make sense. You have to look at it over time. COVID throws a lurch into that. So you need to go back pre-COVID, which is why I say 5 years versus 3, because you're not going to get a very good picture. So you want to look at things over the course of 5 years if you're going to make any kind of decision that's outside your normal budgeting. That has built trust. Principals and department directors feel confident that they know what's going on and where the money is and how it's happening. And it's not all of a sudden at the end of the year, we magically had more money. It isn't working that way. And then we're on to strategic planning. The board voted to have me go ahead and facilitate strategic planning. I think the process has been good. Again, this is our opportunity to create direction for our district that we can go ahead and pursue for the next 3 to 5 years. I'm proud to say that the mission and vision statement are ready to come to the board for approval when our package is ready. And then we're still in progress. Like I said, core values, hoping to get that survey completed by more of the members of the committee so that we can land on those and then figure out what are the strategic priorities going to be, the action steps and the measurement strategies to ensure that we've achieved those. That work's still in progress, but it's good work. I think it's bringing us all together as a community. I think our teachers have enjoyed leading the committee nights. I think they've done a nice job with it. We'll see. Again, I don't believe you will have something in September. I do think it's going to be more into October just based on the amount of work that's left to be done, but it's better to have a good plan than to have one that we get and we put on a shelf and we don't look at it again. This, we want to be a living, breathing document that guides our work. And so I have time for any questions.
I don't have questions, but I have a comment. I guess.
This would be the perfect
That's
time
a
for
lot.
that, yeah.
So just being married to a coach, he talks about how the financing has been outstanding this past year. Like for donations or for if you needed something for the team or fundraising or whatever. He says it's just been great. So
yeah, coaches get a budget
Scott
too.
Dave are doing, yeah, they're doing a great job and the budget and all of that. It's very complimentary on that.
I have a comment. As you go through this, the development day, professional development day, not only stress the 5th and 6th grade where that is, but there might be lessons that the upperclassmen teachers could learn from a kindergarten teacher and vice versa, more than you even think, because you know they just don't, they're not in the same building.
Right.
So there's a chance for them to get some synergy there. It might really start some good relationships. So
Any other comments or questions for Dr. Workman? Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move to 10N policy readings. First policy reading, we have 103, 211, 519, and 613. I don't know if these are first time through or so.
No approval.
If there anybody has any comments, please let us know. Either email anybody who's on the policy committee or Dr. Weirkamp. We can certainly entertain those. Second reading, this one will be for approval because per our policy, minor changes can be approved after the second reading. And it is policy 410, family and medical leave policy. I think, is it just updating the date? The revision, there really wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't much, just a
It
few
was-
sub-statute changes.
Yeah.
legal.
So
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
motion was made to approve the second reading for policy 410, family and medical leave. The motion was made by Director Hofstad. Did Randy beat you?
Sure.
Okay, and seconded
Why did you, Tara? I'm sorry.
by, nope, that's all right. Seconded by Director Hackett. Is there any discussion on policy 410? All right, seeing none. All in favor of approval of the policy 410, family and medical leave, say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstain. Motion passes 5-0 to approve the 410. And then we'll move on to the third reading policies. It is 714 fund balance. There was a little more changes in this, but it's still not a lot. I don't know, does anybody in the policy committee want to talk about this one, or we're feeling good about it?
We decided to put a sliding scale in there for fund balance instead of just a hard number. Especially as a board. A lot of this funding stuff doesn't just come up, it's 2 years down the road. And this is no different than these individual budgets. I mean, this is just trying to, if you know you're going to spend, you probably need to try to pull back before you do it, or if you get a little high, that you can afford something. So that's why we did it, and it makes it a better policy, I think.
And I think a great example was the AC stuff that we talked about doing, right? If we didn't have, we knew we wanted to do it as a project, we had some of the funding, but we also knew we had a healthy fund balance where we could allocate funds to that if we needed. So that was a great to have that ability to do that. And this policy does talk about at the end, right, where we can reassign the fund balance as the board decides it to be. So I think that was a great change in addition in there as well. So I will look for a motion to approve policy 714 fund balances.
So moved.
Motion was made by Director Hackett and seconded by Director Bauman. Is there any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving policy 714 fund balances, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And abstained? Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move to the amended the amended agenda item 100, right, Randy?
Yeah.
This is the resolution for the Iowa. Is there a member that would like to introduce this resolution?
Yes.
Member Hofstad introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Whereas Superintendent Christine Weirkamp to be the identified official and with oh man, I'm gonna start that again. Whereas Superintendent Christine Weirkamp to be identified official with authority, education, identity, and access management security system for the Royalton School District. Therefore, be it resolved by Royalton School Board to approve Superintendent Christine Weirkamp to be the Iowa EDM. So there you go, Iowa EDM. Whereas Business Manager, School Services Management, Scott Marine, to be identified official and authority proxy, Iowa proxy for the Royalton School District. Therefore, be it resolved by the Royalton School Board to approve Business Manager, Scott Marine to be the Iowa proxy. Motion for this adoption for foregoing resolution was duly seconded by member Bauman. And upon roll call vote being taken thereon, the following voted in favor of.
Director Bauman.
Aye.
Director Garrett.
Aye.
Director Hackett.
Aye.
Director Hofstad. Aye. Director Roaring.
Aye.
Voted against and abstained. The foregoing resolution was approved this 27th day of June 2022, 5-0. Thing I wish I'd read it over.
That's an important one too. I only want to explain.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Upcoming meeting schedule. We have a meeting Wednesday, July 13th, 9 AM, the policy meeting. Tuesday, July 19th at noon, the finance meeting. We also have scheduled Monday, July 25th, 6 PM, the regular school board meeting. Director Bauman.
I will miss the finance meeting on Tuesday, July 19th at noon.
And I won't be at the board meeting.
Okay.
Unless we stay in Village or maybe I'll just show
Fun.
up. Can't figure out where to go.
Do we want to talk about like a September work session? Does that need to go on? Maybe not yet, but soon, right? We're only talking about July here.
Yeah, I just thought one thing about adding a September work session gives us an opportunity to get a good thorough update on where the strategic plan is. It wouldn't be obviously anything we vote on, but just kind of see what's put out there and kind of a presentation on that. That was my thinking for September. I think there was one other thing on that one.
Sure, I think we should definitely talk about a September work session. I'm fine with that.
It's always helpful to have it 2 weeks prior to the regular session so we can just be prepared. which is always tough in September because, you know, we have opening of school. But that's it. So this could be the 12th of September.
6 p.m. Okay. With that, I will close the meeting for superintendent evaluation as permitted by Minnesota statute section 13B.05.
Motion.
Yes, motion to close the regular meeting at 7:41. Director Bauman, is there a second?
Director Hackett.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor of closing the regular meeting at 7:41, say aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries 5-0. We will take a, we want to take a 10-minute break and then we will come back at 7:51. Thank you. We will go into close.